Ready? We're gonna go ahead and start. This is a work session. Item number 1 is permit and zoning department Giles property at 127 and 145 Brittany Road. Mr. Giles, you're here. You wanna step up and tell us what's happening? Well, we know what's happening. What's happened is the EPD has got involved. Our permit officer's been out. You wanna, whichever one of y'all wanna go first? Okay. Explain to us what you're doing out there.
Well, about 33 years ago, I bought that little piece of property, and over the years, I had 16, 17, 20 acres of something subdivided into lots. Went through the county, got it all approved. I get permits on all the houses I put in there. I got all the lots full now. And I had 14 acres on the back side of the subdivision. It was agricultural property. But back 30 years ago, I started in my spare time digging some lakes out up there. Actually, one lake. And took me 5 years or better to get it dug out. All I've done is a little bit at a time, and made sure I kept it under all the erosion control and everything like it's supposed to be. I didn't know I had supposed to have a permit for it. I got permits on all my houses I've done them, but that lake was one of the first things I done before I even started putting houses in there. And about 7 years ago, 6 or 7, 8 years ago or something, I had sold off part of the lake where my interest was to get on the back side of the lake, so I had to put another road down at the close to the cul-de-sac so I could cross the lake, and that gave me a small pond on the left side going over there. A few months ago, maybe a year ago, I started getting water in that small pond, mud in that small pond. And I called the codes and I called the marshal, talked to them about it, and they said they'd check it out and get back with me. None of the mud was getting in the lake was coming off of my property, though it was coming down the ditch. It's feeding the property. And so I guess when the EPD man comes down, I called the EPD myself because I wanted to find out, where the mud was coming from. And when he comes down there and sees the pond where the mud's in it, I hadn't talked to him, but Mr. Terry said it. He kind of didn't like it. So now then we're in this situation with what to do about it.
You said you started working on that and digging a little bit at a time. When?
Probably, I bought the property in 88, 89. By the 90, 91, I started on it. And one time during this thing now, during the time I was doing this was back in the 90s, I think. It was when Gordon Parrish was coachman. That's how long it's been. I was putting a pipe in the ditch up there where the water comes into the lake. It's not a branch. It's a ditch because in this time of year, if it wasn't raining, it'd be dry. But Gordon and the EPD man come up there and told me I had to get some gravel and put on what I'd done there, and I did. Before I had time, he said he'd call him and he'd come back and inspect it. Before I had time to call him, he calls me, and he said, "Is that agricultural land or part of that subdivision?" I said, "It's agricultural land." He said, "Well, I just talked to my boss, and he said, do what you want to. Everything was fine. I ain't got to come back down there." So I thought by that, anything I'd done there, as long as I kept erosion under control, I was okay.
Let me explain where we're at. I talked with with Mr. Merchants with the EPD this week. And, they want some kind of movement. They want, if the county votes to leave the lakes there, then they'll take jurisdiction. That if the county, if it's not bothering us in any way, it's not running down on anybody.
No, sir, I always controlled my erosion control while I was building that lake. I
And
never,
then
never had too much land disturbed, less than an acre all the time, grass and hay right behind me. I'm in a construction business. I've been for 53 years.
Well, the EPD will take control.
Right.
And what they'll do is ask you to buy the permits to go in there that you would have bought when you did this. They're not gonna make you do anything that you shouldn't have already done. And then, they'll oversee it.
What do you mean make me buy permits?
Well, you gotta have grading permits and, you gotta have the dam, engineered to make sure it's gonna hold.
It's been there for 30 years, 25 years, over 25 years.
Well,
But you're adding volume, as you add more water to it, it adds more
I
volume.
ain't added more water to it.
Well, you were digging it out, are you not?
No, I was finished with it, and, by 95, I was finished with it. And I bought it in 88, 89. In other words, ain't nothing coming in there no more than what's already there.
but according to the law, the state and federal government owns all water streams. If that was a trout stream and we have,
It's a dry stream, it's not a branch,
but there's water runs in it. all the
not
time.
just but when it rains.
That doesn't matter, that still belongs to the state, and it's a water source to the state. It's waters, and they're in control of it. If water ever runs in a ditch, then the state is in control. And all they're asking you to do is go back and get the permits that you would have got if you'd have done it that way to start with.
Where do I have to go to do that?
Well, the state will tell you, they'll work with you. And he confirmed to us there was probably 99% chance that they would go ahead and allow this to happen. You just need the permits and under their supervision. All you gotta do is make it right.
Okay, whatever I gotta do.
Okay. And what we'll be voting on is to give the authority to the state or us to let them go ahead and oversee this project instead of the county doing it.
So let me just get caught up to speed here, because I'm trying to process everything I'm hearing. So he's putting a lake on his own land, right?
Agricultural land too.
On his own land, and he began it in 88 and 89, and here it is 2022, and we gotta make some vote about a lake on his personal property?
So that, back in the time I did this lake, there wasn't no such thing as what you talking about with the state owning the property. I mean, owning the water rights. That come in effect since 2000.
We can vote to leave it like it is, but the state's coming. You know, it's up to you. We
That's
can
whatever, but I mean, this,
give them the authority to go ahead and do it. It's kind of like building a house, you know. You own the land, you own the property, but you still gotta have a permit to build that house. And the permit, man, has gotta come ever so often and oversee the project.
but what I don't understand, I'm not building the lake. The lake's been built for over 25 years.
Okay?
How tall is your dam, roughly?
The water at the dam is about 6 foot deep.
You got
The
much storage?
back side of the dam's probably 10 or 12 foot deep. But nobody's ever got a complaint on my, like on the runoffs and stuff like that, because I've always controlled it. like I said, I've been in business 53 years, and that's the kind of work I do. And I know what I gotta do to keep inside the law on that, you know?
Okay.
So why did we even end up here? Like, how did this get put on the agenda today? What
Because he
happened?
called the EPD and said he was getting silk in his lake, and when they came out, they saw that it was coming from his property.
No,
In the
they didn't
lake.
see no silt off my property coming in,
Okay,
Mr. Ridley.
but it hadn't been permitted when it was built, the dam hadn't been engineered to code.
So if he hadn't called the EPD, we wouldn't be having this conversation? Because hypothetically, he's done nothing wrong.
Yeah, I called the EPD.
That's a
That's one
mistake you
time I
made,
called
looks like.
EPD, and I damn sure never do it again. But whatever we gotta do, I'd like to get it straightened out.
That's the best way, is to allow the state to come in, and all they're gonna ask you to do is do your permits. Go back to what you were. They're gonna let the county decide whether or not there be any violations or any, charges on the violation. And I don't think that's something that I'd worry about if I was you. I would
Okay.
just worry about making the state happy. And he told us that it was 99% probable that you would get the permits and get the lake and keep the lakes. But what we need to do
Look.
to get it from the county level, which we don't have the people to do that kind of permitting, is write a letter to the state asking them to do it. And that we're good with it.
But you know, when the state comes, they're gonna find out, they're gonna find something. They wouldn't send somebody out here if they didn't come to find something wrong with what I done.
We didn't call them.
But whatever I gotta do, I'll do it.
That's the best thing that we could do right now. I think that you're gonna get a better outcome.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you, sir.
So are we gonna assist him in contacting, helping him get in touch with somebody at the state, or is he called back to the same place he talked to, or what?
We're gonna write a letter to the state, to Steve Merchants at Cartersville, and tell him that we would like for him to take jurisdiction over this, project. And then the state handles it from there. When it's all said and done, they'll give it back to the county for us to decide if there were any violations and what the penalties would be. The state will not do the penalties, it will be the county. That's the way we understood it in the meeting, right? But there is another recourse. You can tear it down and put it back like it was, or we can go through this.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not familiar with, to be honest, if I could, consult my lawyer about that, just see what he said about it. Since the time limit was over 25 years, there's gotta be a statutory limitation on it somewhere.
Yeah, we're good with that. Yeah, what we'd like to do is to go ahead and give our permission to the state
Yeah,
to let them handle it, and it gets it away from us, because we don't have the facilities to do it. The personnel, we don't have engineers to go see what the dam, how it's compacted and all. And, that's all it does. We've either got to go ahead with the state tonight, or tell you that we don't want the lake there, and you've got to tear it out. And put it back in the condition that you found it in.
yeah.
So we had rather go with the state, because we think you can get it permitted.
Well, I don't know. If they come down there and start, every time I turn around and tell them I gotta do something, I don't know. I'm an old man, I'm almost 80 years old, and
Yeah.
I thought I was through with that a long time ago. I put one more house up there, and that's all I'm gonna sell it all just like it was. But I mean, the lakes, like I said, been there all that long, and no leaks in the dam, nothing like that. Nobody downstream's ever had a problem with me.
Well, that's all you're gonna have to do is prove to them that it was constructed right. And we're sure that it was, or we wouldn't, allow the dam to stay. But we're good with it, I think, as a board. You know,
There won't be a lot to them, I don't think, Mr. Giles, because
What now?
I don't think there'll be a lot of requirements out there. I was asking you about the height of the dam. If it's less than 25 foot tall and you got less than 100 acre feet of water out there, they're not gonna come out there and, be on, like they were a larger lake
I
where you
know
gotta
it's
get
probably
it
too-
engineered.
Probably 2 or 3 acres. Yeah, see, I know when I started that, like I checked on that, it was a 10-acre lake. You could build up to a 10-acre lake without getting it permitted at that time. That's what it was.
And we'll get you in touch with Steve Merchant, he'll treat you fair and get you through the process.
Okay.
he's a good guy, he'll work with you.
He really will.
A couple of us have had personal dealings with him before ourselves, you know. So, he'll
Okay.
work with you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, item number 2. Do we want to put that on the special call meeting to vote in a few minutes? So,
Item number 1.
yes. Item number 2, Darrell Franklin.
I'm Darrell Franklin. I thought I spoke well out. All right, so I'm Darrell Franklin. I'm the current president of the Property Owners Association at the Beaver Run development that's out in Ryan Farmer's territory out there. I've came over it. We came into possession of the president side of things where I'm running that Property Owners Association. I got 4 of the other board members here with me. Each are property owners in there. We're not renters. We actually own the property we've developed. I've just finished a house on there, and there's quite a few more things that need to be done in there. When the place was originally developed, it was developed under a private community. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that when I bought the property. I'm not blaming that on anybody, but my own due diligence wasn't done. But the road was being maintained by the old president and his group, and it's maintained simply by the Property Owner Association fees, which are minimal because of the community out there. So what we've ran into is at our community is the roads are with the price of everything increasing, which everybody's fully aware of what's going on with that. We are struggling to maintain those roads under just a gravel condition. So what we were coming to you guys with was asking, is there any way we could reach out to you guys to help us, the county itself, to help us with just a gravel application, sort of keep the roads under condition to be passable. They are passable, don't get me wrong, they're in good condition, they have a hard base, they just have they show wear from people driving on them. And what our concern is not only mine, I'm getting older just like everyone else is, there are a lot of older people that live in there that are, up into their retirement years, and they're starting to seek medical help from the county, from county services. And that by itself gives a little delay to them coming in and providing those services. That's one thing, and our budget, we've been trying to maintain these roads for my tenure has only been like 3 years. And we've been on average of $10,000 to $12,000 in incoming funds from property owners to maintain the roads. Well, our participation rate, of course, between property owners and them actually meeting their requirements as far as paying their dues is again, it's minimum comparatively speaking. So what we were coming to you guys with was nothing more than an asking in a plea basically to see if we could get some type of assistance from a gravel standpoint, an application standpoint, some type of help to keep these roads under control, simply because the group is aging. The people who are willing to maintain the roads are limited to, say, the best. We don't have, everybody's not ready to plow a road and maintain gravel on it. From y'all's standpoint, from a taxpayer standpoint and a tax recipient standpoint on you guys, we have 111 lots that are out there. Only 40 are developed. If the roads were kept into a condition, and I'll tell you from my standpoint, my taxes were, when I bought the property, were minimal. I bought it 7 years ago, less than $200 for my undeveloped land, which is now reaching almost $2,000 with my developed land. So that's a huge disparity there as far as, a tax bill that could come off of essentially 70 more lots if the roads were maintained to a point where now it ain't more money in my pocket, it's more money in you guys' pocket, if we were able to get the lots more accessible and more, appealing to the person that comes and wants to develop a home down there. So that's where we're at. And in talking with Ryan, I said, that's why I brought the board with me. We would sign documents, agreements, whatever was required of us, if, to not ask for anything in addition to, if we could get just that little bit of help. Just bringing the roads up to nicer standards. When it was developed a long time ago, I don't think there was a lot of forethought put into how this was going to end up in 2022. It was probably nice back in 1980, but 2022 is probably a little different, and people are becoming, you ain't got the old farmers with the tractors anymore. You've got people who look at their phone a lot and don't do a lot of work outside. And without me, now we've taken on the process of trying to maintain the roads once again with small farm tractors that we have, but it's eventually going to run out. And so I'm trying to look forward enough that I put it this, my son owns a lot down there. He's developing a house on it. My daughter, I bought her a lot in there. She's going to be developing a house on it. But when I'm said and gone and I'm out of it and I'm not doing the roads anymore, that's going to fall on someone else's shoulders. And I'm afraid that if we don't get something rolling in the right direction, who knows what's going to happen with that area down there. And, again, and we'll sign, and I have the agreements of the board that we'll sign as our position that we won't ask you for anything else if we can get them brought up to that condition. And I spoke with Terry Edwards at the road department. He was going to go review the conditions of the road and sort of that way he'd have he knows more about how to bring the roads up to
Well, who actually owns the roads?
Okay, so there is I don't even know how you'd state it. Sharon, you may help me with this. Sharon is our treasurer, and she's a little better at everything that, when it comes to all the paperwork and all that I am. The roads themselves are part of the development as a private community that was allowed back, and I'm gonna say it had to have been 20 years ago, if not
See,
further.
that's what, we can't put county equipment on private property.
Right.
And that's what that is. It's the roads belongs to the association, I would think. And that's a private entity. And we can't put the county equipment on that. And the only way we would, Terry, you wanna come on in and make sure I'm telling this right? I don't know what kind of right-of-ways you got for the roads or whatever, but, normally a subdivision like that is that the contractor has to get that up to our standards before we'll ever take that. We've never took one while I've been here that was below standard and brought it up to standards because it's private property. It would have to, the county'd have to take possession of the roads.
And Terry, it's nice to meet you, by the way. How would you start the process to, let's say, dissolve the POA, give you the rights to to what you're asking for from a right-of-way standpoint? Is there a process?
That would be an attorney question.
Terry, have you been out there? Did you make it out there? what kind of, what are the discrepancies between that versus a county, gravel road? What would be, in your estimate, what would it take to get that, road up to county standard? Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. I understand. Yeah. I understand.
How many miles of road are back there? I've rode it a few times.
It's just I think it's a tad under 3 miles. And again, it would be a scenario, I mean, if we were to, you know, if there was a way to grant permission hypothetically, that would be a possibility. I mean, we would sign what it took to give you those rights, you know, and really, it's honestly, at this point, it's it ain't, the roads aren't horrible. And I mean, I think Terry can attest, you can drive on the roads. I think we posted a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. If you do 15 mile an hour on the road are passable without a problem. And I'm not saying we want them to where you can go 30. I'm just saying the roads are manageable. But, I mean, I think if we could make some steps, you know, that's what we're looking for. If you can't help us at this moment, we would like some steps, you know, through any policy of 1, 2, 3, let's get there. And it's simply because it is gonna come a time when something's gonna happen to where, you know, emergency services are gonna be called down there for a problem and they can't get there fast enough and a person's gonna pass away because of that extra 6 or 7 minutes it took to get that extra mile, hypothetically.
Why don't we get Terry to come out and look at your roads and see what it would cost to get them up to our standards?
Who owns the undeveloped property?
There are individual investors, some of the majority, I believe, and Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the majority of the undeveloped lots are still in the possession of the original developer. The name off the top of my head? It's Beaver Run LLC, was the original developer.
He is still in possession of that, or ever who's still in possession of those undeveloped lots?
He still owns the majority.
They are the ones that have to put the road in, or should be putting the road in.
Well, the roads are in, it's just.
No, they need to be putting them in, and this is just me speaking, they need to be put in to our standards, which is state specs. If we're going to accept them, and that's the way any subdivision would be, you've got to put them in. So if that developer is still out there, or that LLC.
I think he's passed away. I think
Well,
he's passed away.
But someone owns the majority of those lots.
Right,
And they're
right.
still the ones that's gonna benefit from the sale of those lots. So
Okay.
he has to be the one to put the road in, cause he's gonna get his money back on the sale of lots.
Right,
We don't have a way to recoup
okay,
that expense of the road,
other than tax dollars,
other than tax dollars, but we're not in the business of putting new roads in.
certainly.
We're in the business of maintaining the proper road
Right.
when it's built to specs.
Right. And so, if we can get at least that ball rolling, if we could get Terry to come out and say, hey, you know, I mean, even if you could assess it and give us you know, there's a certain amount of the road that I would think would be fully acceptable. Because there's a lot of it is, you know, built very nice. Now, there are a few places that probably could be questionably built.
Well, let's get Terry to come out and give us some kind of estimate, and then we'll know what we're looking at.
A
and
direction,
talking
a good
about.
direction to go anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in a full agreement. I mean, I think as long as we get the ball rolling, I think if we're on a timeline where each of us are.
What about you and Terry swapping numbers?
Terry, you still have mine? Because I still have yours.
Okay,
Okay.
and then.
And what
call
would be
here
our next
anytime.
step after Terry does his assessment, if you don't mind?
Then we'll come back before the board and we'll look at it and see what it's gonna cost to get it up to the standards and see. We'll have to, have deeds to all those, roads plus the right-of-way before we can put county equipment.
Right.
We'll have to own it.
And I'm gonna get versed in the property owner's, covenants also. So I have a little more knowledge of exactly what the covenants read. And, then, then we'll hopefully make all the right steps and not stumble again.
And I think we'll want, what, 30 or 40 foot from the center line? 60 foot overall. Exactly. It'll be a regular land deal.
Yeah.
It'll be another real estate deal. We'll have to take possession, we'll have to know what we're taking.
Yeah.
Certainly. And to think of the, like the power company, for instance.
Get every landowner to have that agreement to take that. It's a little more complex.
Oh, I understand that.
As far as us
Yeah.
obtaining ownership, but as far as the monetary value, I'd be more than happy to go out.
I think that's the first thing is kind of to look at what we're dealing, from just a monetary standpoint.
And then every landowner will have to sign the.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that's a part on our side. We can, we can push that through we should be able to push that through under most uncertain terms. And, try to meet your minimum requirements, I would hope, not the maximum requirements, but the requirements altogether.
It's noted.
I don't know that we could bring it up to code that the county could stand.
Right.
Or what our requirements are is the biggest issue I'm facing here is. But I'll speak with the chairman and the rest of the board and whatever their wishes are, we'll try to come out and look at and evaluate it, try to get some kind of cost estimate, then have other costs. Whatever they'll choose to do.
Okay.
We'll know where we're at, and then you'll know what you've got to do, and see if it's,
If we can meet somewhere.
continue to pursue it.
Yeah, and, just for, what type of lawyer would be the right approach? In other words, from an attorney standpoint, it wouldn't be a criminal justice lawyer, it'd be a said lawyer.
Ask Avery there, he can.
Yeah. Hey, you can probably go to Jack Witcher's office and he'd be able, Jack Witcher? Yeah, somebody at his office would be able to help you. And if you could bring a copy, you probably have a survey already of the roads in the subdivision.
Yeah, there's a current whole plat map
Yeah.
that should be even filed with the county.
If you could bring a copy of that and your covenants as well, so that when the board's making the decision, they can have that information.
Write down that name for me, please.
Yeah.
On my cheat sheet.
Here, I'll give you their number.
You want to move on to Mark, since they're just changing numbers? I think, Mark Paulson.
Yeah, who is that?
Thank you.
I'm not sure, somebody making a request.
All right, thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We're gonna exit, so,
Let's move on. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
We'll see what we can do.
All right, thank y'all.
Item number 3 is Mark Folsom. See here. You here?
Yeah, she was talking.
If anybody that's speaking would come to a microphone, please.
Hope y'all can hear me. I'm wearing this little mask.
We can.
I'm
We're good.
unfortunately got one of those immunocompromised conditions, and
Understandable.
I'm in a high-risk situation. I don't come to these meetings and places because of it, but I felt it was important to be here.
Yes, sir.
My name's Mark Folsom. I want to thank the chairman for getting what I'm going to be discussing, the T-Splosh. I'm thankful to get that on the ballot. I'm thankful to the voters to get it approved. I know how important that is to get items accomplished. I'm retired from 30-plus years with Cobb County, so I'm familiar with T-Splosh.
Yeah.
And how difficult it is without it to get things.
It's made a huge difference in Haralson County.
So I own some property in Haralson County since 1987. And I'm hoping, I've retired now, I'm hoping to move out here. I don't physically live on this property yet. It's in District 2. But I'm not representing just me. I'm representing the community. And if all the roads get paved but my road, I'm going to thank you for it. I want you to use efficient use of the resources. If you find a more efficient use for it, do so. I want to thank y'all for doing that. That's what y'all's job is to do, is make a most efficient use of the resources. So I've got email I sent to y'all with that information. If you need any more, I've got copies of it.
I've still got mine.
Yeah.
So there's one main thoroughfare that everybody shares. So if that's the only road that gets any attention, everybody will be thankful.
Okay.
All right.
If the next busiest road in there, which most people use, gets done, be thankful. If the little side roads that are limited use gets left as is, we're thankful.
Okay.
Any additional documentation, information, I spoke with Terry, you know, he hadn't been out, he's familiar with it, but he's not been out there.
Okay.
He's gonna meet with me when his schedule permits. So I'm hopefully to be more involved in Haralson County in the future.
Thank you.
Well, good, we like that.
I'm either gonna build my house and get me a job local or drive back to Cobb. I really don't wanna go to that commute.
I understand.
I've got lots of experience. I'd like to not let it go to waste.
Mhm.
I'm familiar with a lot of the stuff y'all are talking about. I've dealt with the DNR in Carterville. I've had to deal with that kind of stuff for my previous job. I've had to deal with private property in my previous position, so I'm very familiar with the county versus private. You can't cross that line.
Yes, sir.
But I'm not sure what else I can share, but I'd just like for you to consider these streets in your T-Splosh, and if it's an efficient use of the money as compared to wherever, I would greatly appreciate that consideration. That's really all I'm here for, is just ask for your consideration for what I provided.
We'll get Terry to come out and look. He tries to keep track of the worst roads. We're trying to do those first. But what we're also trying to do, if we have one that's bad and some that's not as bad, we like to concentrate in one area to keep from having to pay the price to move the equipment.
Most efficient use
And,
of
you know,
resources.
They charge us, I think it's $15,000 every time they pick up and move. So we'd rather
Yeah.
spend that money on asphalt than.
Yep, my last 3 years was with the DOT.
Okay, so you
The previous
understand.
30 was with the water department. But I actually interacted with every department within Cobb County, the state, everybody probably in the state. I dealt with all the sewer overflows, all that fun.
So we'll get Terry to come out and,
So if y'all need any more information, I'll be glad to provide it.
okay.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Folsom.
I thank y'all for y'all's time. I'm a very thankful and appreciative person.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, item number 4 is anti-retaliation and whistleblower protection policy. We need to vote, at least all of the department heads needs to take training in this. It's one of the requirements.
Do we need to approve this tonight, or are we just,
We'll just vote on it.
okay?
You can vote on it at the regular meeting and give everybody time to read it.
Okay.
It's highly recommended by our risk management company.
You know, the insurance companies.
I understand.
Was this document prepared by our attorney, or is it prepared, is this generic?
It was the model policy from Local Government Risk Management Services.
Okay,
But we reviewed it and it looked fine.
okay, thank you.
Item number 5 is E911 participation in peace officers annuity and benefit funds. Do you want to come up and? Holly Ray, well, it's not new director of 911 anymore.
Hello. So telecommunicators have now been recognized as first responders by Governor Kemp. He signed a bill over. So we're allowed to participate in the pension that peace officers get. It's $25 a month, and I've requested that the commissioners consider paying it for Haralson County 911 employees. Right now, I only have 15 employees. They're not all said they want to do it because some of them are approaching like 50, and you have to be in it for 15 years before you can collect on it or retire. It can be part of your pension, if that makes sense. 15-year telecommunicator. I did meet with the commissioner and Allison last week, and I did find out today, though, that if the county does pay for it and the employee pulls out from it, it becomes the employee's property, not the employer's property. So they would keep the money. So if the county paid for it, they wouldn't get the money back. The employee would get it at 95%. So I was just seeing if y'all consider it as paying for it or amending my budget so I could put it in my budget.
What we would have to do is consider it part of their salaries, because the money, once we contribute it to the annuity, or it would become the employee's fund.
Right.
And they have to be in it 15 years before they can draw. But at any time, they can quit and take the money. So we would have to look at it like it was part of the salary.
They take a huge tax hit when they withdraw that early.
I haven't looked into it that far yet to see what the taxes are if they withdraw early. They get 95% of what they put in. So they don't get the 100% back. So it's what we figured, if I had 17 employees, it would be $5,100 a year for all of them. So, but like I said, I don't have a number on how many want to do it. Right now, I got about 9.
Yeah, I think we figured it would be less than $4,000 by the time.
That's
Yeah.
what I just got,
Yeah.
a little less than four.
If y'all could just consider it, let me know. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Item number 5 is lost. We have, part of you participated on the loss. Did you? You got the schedules? Okay, you got 2 options here, option A and option B. And I think all the cities have agreed to option A, where the county takes 50%. Bremen gets, and then the rest is divided by the municipalities by population. Bremen, having the largest population, would get 29.96, Buchanan 3.9, Tallapoosa 13.57, and on so on. Last year, or the last SPLOST negotiation, the county got just a little over 49%, and we have raised that to 50. But we have to have a vote from the commissioners approving this. Are there any questions?
So Angie Hood, you all know, I think Angie, Yvonne Campbell's daughter, Angie's been around here forever. She approached me last Thursday when we got finished with a prayer reading at the courthouse, and she was not real happy about this. And of course, she talked about the city of Buchanan and how Buchanan gets overlooked, and just was not pleased with negotiations. So I was kind of curious if anybody else had heard from other folks in reference to them not being on board with the way this looks.
I know I have. I know Buchanan and I think Tallapoosa shares the same displeasure with the way that this has come out. And I think it's important to note, one, that the way that these funds are being divided, this is a realized decrease in funding for the other municipalities based off the agreement that's been in there for 10 years, whereas this is money that Bremen has never realized. So that obviously raises implications for the basic functioning of the municipalities like Buchanan, like Waco, and like Tallapoosa, who are going to be looking at budgets that are, you know, quite frankly, going to have a substantial amount, 80, 120,000, 130,000 taken out of their budgets. They're going to have to try to find a wake up to make up in other areas. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. I know that, like you said, Jamie, I know Buchanan wasn't real happy with it. I know Tallapoosa's not very excited about it either.
I've had the same relayed to me as well. But I mean, as far as these numbers go, the county, if we really got down to brass tacks, the county could take a substantially larger amount than what's listed here, and they would really take a hit, so.
There's been as far as 61%. So we was at 49 last year. We're going up to 50 this year. And then that 10% is divided equally amongst the municipalities in the county by the population. It wasn't done that way in the past. There's a reason that some of the cities are taking bigger hits than what they did in the past.
Do we need to take action on this tonight, or is this something that we need to walk on? Negotiations ongoing? Are we done?
We have got to have a decision by August the 6th.
Okay.
If the negotiations are not, go ahead. 5th, excuse me.
We have a meeting August the 6th, is that correct?
Yeah, our meeting.
Our meeting is August the 6th.
And we've got to tell the state by August the 5th if the county and the cities are in agreement. If we're not, we've got to go to non-binding arbitration. And it's non-binding, so really what good does that do?
Actually, so I guess we actually have a meeting August the 2nd. Wouldn't that be that? It's August the 2nd, not the 6th. Okay. So we do have the ability to adopt this at I guess, our last meeting before we have to turn anything over to the state. Okay.
Is that what you'd like to do, is wait till the 2nd?
That's what I would like to do, yes, sir.
I believe we rescheduled the next lost meeting for Thursday morning
Yes.
I believe that's correct.
at 9.
Yes, and I think all the cities have already accepted this.
Is that advertised, Allison?
It can be.
Can you do that? Just in case more than 2 of us show up.
Right, if y'all don't, it's my understanding, and Avery can correct me, if we don't come to an amount tonight that the county is content with, then we really do need everyone there for the discussions so that we would need you there if we're at a later meeting so that we have your consensus on the percentage the county will accept. Is that correct?
So what do you think would change, Ryan, if we put this off to that August 2nd meeting?
I think there's been some discussions. Obviously, I know a lot of the cities were not a big fan of option B, which kind of gives a situation to, it gives the ability to some of the municipalities to kind of ease into it. Obviously, you can see there's a pretty big bump in the road in year 2026 with an attempt by one of the municipalities to make up for their, as they see it, lost money from the first 3 years of the plan, or excuse me, first 2 years of the plan, because they hit the number in 2025. But I'm not quite sure what the changes would be. Obviously, I mean, I've had some discussions with other elected individuals, just like you have, I'm sure, in your district, with elected individuals from my district, and, there's a lot of displeasure, I can say that, I guess, would probably be the best way to put that. But at the end of the day, the surefire way to make it sure everyone in the county is, unhappy is to not adopt anything, and then we lose it wholly. So,
If something is not adopted, this is what they call local option sales tax. If we don't, we've got to the 5th to tell the state whether or not we've got an agreement. Then I think we go into 90 days of non-binding arbitration. And if we don't have something set up by the first day of January of next year, then it drops. And what the local option sales tax pays anything that property taxes would pay. So what it would do is, if we don't come to agreement, it will raise the property taxes next year. That is the money that is saved. You'll see on your tax bills, you save so much money due to local option sales tax. You won't see it if we don't come to an agreement.
Jamie, have you had a chance to take a look at these numbers? And, I mean, do you have any opinion on what changes could potentially be made after meeting with your folks?
I guess my question would be, realistically, the city of Bremen is more than likely not going to want to make any changes, as far as they're going to want to get every dime that they can get.
Yeah.
Just like the other cities, though.
I think the
And
big
then some.
difference,
And then some.
yeah.
So, I mean, David, do you think there's any room to,
Jamie, I've been
Changing
to
things?
these
You've been to them,
meetings
so-
with these cities, the 2 or 3 that we've had thus far. And, all this is doing is, under this law certificate, is finally, and correct me, Chairman, if I'm wrong, it's finally dispersing the monies the way that the statute calls for. And that is by the county and the cities that make up more than 50% of the municipality population. It's between those 2 entities, and that be the unincorporated county and the city of Bremen, which is involved. And the county has given up right at 10% of its shares to the cities. But that 10% will still be dispersed according to population of those municipalities. So, it just say Bremen had 51% of the population of the cities of Bremen, Buckhannon, Tallapoosa, Waco. They're gonna get 51% of that 10% that the county gives up. That's a lot of percents and a lot of division, but if you can follow that, that's how it works.
The city of Bremen has 58% of the population of the
58.
cities of the county.
Right. Okay, they got 58% of the city.
58%.
Okay. This is what the statutes call for. It's not something, and we've had these discussions, all the mayors have, we've had this, no one is happy with it, but it's not something that we can choose to change. This has got to be changed at the state. And, because this is statewide. It's the same rules for everyone. And I am not for losing it all just because there's an unhappiness about the way the statute reads, thus the disbursement of money, a great share goes to Bremen due to its population.
Avery, population's not the only thing that this is based on, correct? There are about 8 factors, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That's absolutely correct. There's 7 or 8 factors that can be considered, and it can be divided accordingly.
Yeah, because if it was just based on one sole reason, then we could take away the term negotiation, because there's nothing to negotiate, be cut and dry.
That's right.
But we have talked about those at those meetings, and no one has come up with any one of those other 7 or 8 suggestions that would benefit it would get any of the cities the benefit that they're wanting, correct? Is that correct, Avery?
That's correct. There's also, it is only the county and the city with the largest population, if it's over 50% of the population of the cities, that have to enter the agreement, and then the other cities can be non-participating cities, and they'll get a minimum amount. And I believe that what they're getting is that same amount that they would be getting if they were non-participating cities.
You know, I think we had that discussion of sales tax as one, is that correct?
Point of sale.
Point of sales.
Yeah.
But boy, if you did that, the unincorporated county would take a huge hit.
I just, a point of sales would.
Yeah, from a point of sales, and that for the county, for the unincorporated part of this, I am definitely be against that. You know, it would be a huge hit.
We're at a point of delivery now. The whole state is point of delivery. That means when you order something from Amazon or Walmart.com, wherever it's delivered is where you collect the sales tax.
Yep.
If it wasn't for that, if it was a point of sales, I don't believe the mayors understand how much of effect that would have. Everything that you order online that you didn't order from Haralson County, the sales tax would go to the county that it would originated. So if you ordered it from Kansas City would get the sales tax, not Haralson County.
And I think due to some recent legislative changes, I think the percentages, while I understand the role they play here, kind of going to be, I won't say irrelevant, but due to some of the legislation that's passed at the state level with the marketplace facilitator and being able to make that point of delivery so that anything that, you know, wherever you're in the county you're living, that sales tax dollar goes to that person, not where you purchase it from. You know, that only went into effect 2 years ago, I believe. So we really have no clue or no true idea of what this could mean over the next decade.
You're gonna have different things that's not being taxed over the internet.
Absolutely, yeah.
Music that's going to in the future, that's gonna make a big difference too.
Yeah.
I fully believe that we didn't see a impact because of COVID, because that market facilitator tax went into effect.
If we wouldn't have had that, we would be in very dire straits. Absolutely correct.
In dire straits.
Absolutely correct.
You got the current percentages?
You got the current percentages?
Yeah, well, you can see it if you flip. So if you, so this is current. This one right here is current.
The 23 is.
If you kept the 23, that's what Bremen's at, that's what Tallapoosa's at, that's what it currently is. It would stay the same under this one, and then this would be what the numbers would go to.
Okay, he's got it right there.
Thank you.
That's it. The history.
Has Tallapoosa voted yet? Tomorrow. Has Buchanan voted yet? Okay. more discussion?
Guess we'll see everybody at the meeting.
Wait.
Yeah.
The meeting's Thursday morning at 9 a.m. here.
Mark that off. We got a new agenda for the regular meeting for special call.
Just for,
Yes, it should, no, I mean, we have, I put one with everybody.
We can get one.
No, I don't have that one.
I don't have one. Just this one.
I didn't see one in the stack, but you never know.
We gonna add anything else to it?
Not now?
Okay.
Well, we can. We can add this vote on, turning this over to
Yeah,
the state.
I'll add it.
Okay.
I'll add it.
We're gonna go ahead and call the special session meeting. This will be a little different than the normal meeting. This will be in conjunction with the Haralson County Development Authority. Do y'all have a quorum?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay. You wanna come on in? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Ms. Couch, you wanna do the invocation and we do the pledge of allegiance?
Lord, and ask guidance in every decision that we make as a county. We thank you for your love and your mercy, and ask that you forgive us of our sins. And it's in your son's Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chairman Broadstreet, would you like to open your meeting?
Yes, so, I guess we'll call our meeting to order. We'll forego our invitation and receive that invitation for our invitation. I guess the first thing, we're not gonna do all the treasurer's report. This is the special call meeting, okay? So, basically, I guess, I would just need a motion to go to executive session first.
No, we need to,
Wait,
with our
minutes.
meeting, go ahead and approve the agenda and vote on the Giles property.
Okay, so we'll just call our meeting to order and with you guys.
Okay,
Make a motion, we waive the reading of the previous minutes.
okay.
Now, second.
All in favor, show right hand. Approval of the agenda.
I'd like to add an item number 2, which is the permits and zoning of the Giles property at 127 and 145 Brittany Drive.
I'd like to move it to number 1 and put the executive session on number 2. Are you good with that?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Does he need to restate the motion, or can we do it?
That's fine. Need to vote on it, but.
Okay. We got a motion. Need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, show right hand. Okay, item number 1 will be the Giles. And I'd like to make a motion that we turn that over to the state to let them work with Mr. Giles. And what we'll have to do is send a letter stating that the county is allowing the lakes to be there, and that we want the state to oversee.
And the other option would be,
He puts it back like it was.
that's the only two options.
That's the only two options.
I'll second the chairman's motion.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, show of right hands. Motion passed. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session. At this time, that the Board of Commissioners go into executive session over a real estate matter.
Second.
All in favor, show of right hands.
So I need a motion from our board as well to go into executive session regarding a real estate matter. So I need a motion for that. Got a motion, Mr. Hightower, and a second by Alan Cocker. All in favor? We are in executive session.
Okay, we need a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make a motion that we come out of executive session.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, show of right hands.
I need a motion to come out of executive sessions from our board. So moved. Got a motion and a second, all in favor? So moved.
Okay, Eric, you want to come up and explain? This would be one time that we have an answer to what we did in executive session.
So, yeah, this is one of those good news days. This is one of the, we're at the 1 yard line. So what this is about is there is a company coming to the Georgia West Business Park. That's in Buchanan. That's the one. So here's Highway 27. There's the railroad tracks. You guys are probably familiar with the business park that we've had for about 20 years. And the company is going to come in and they're going to buy this 96-acre parcel here, put in a 400,000 square foot building here that's going to have a rail spur that comes off just on the other side of that drive, is going to swing out and come into the facility. The company is a metal a distributor. So they take carbon steel from the mills that comes in on rail cars, about 35 a month. And then they put that on trucks, do some minor processing. Maybe they're going to cut it some, maybe they're going to punch a hole. But most of it is just a distribution. And then they're going to take that and deliver that to fabricators like Division 5 in Tallapoosa or anybody who uses carbon steel. So the project that happened back there and that we're going to talk about today is there's 183 total acres of the industrial park. So to unwind this, right now it's in a public-private partnership. So to unwind that so that it becomes completely publicly owned, we're going to purchase all 183 acres. We're going to turn around and sell this, the 100 acres to the company for $2.5 million. And then the county is going to buy the remaining 2 acres, or we're going to buy, the county's going to buy this part and kind of this part as well, but for $750,000 for both pieces. So that's 44 and 42 acre pieces. And then we're going to continue to market the smaller section on the other side for industrial purposes. Maybe we can find a buyer to put back there, and then that will be for public use. So today what you'll see is a series of motions where the county agrees to help us fund the purchase through an intergovernmental agreement. We turn and buy it from the partnership, the West Georgia Regional Industrial Partnership, so it'll be WGRIP. Then we'll turn around and do another purchase and sale agreement to the company. The company's name is Infra Metals. They are owned by Reliance Steel, which is a publicly traded company. They're currently located in Atlanta. They're going to bring about 80 to 90 jobs to Buchanan. I'm not going to tell you what their average wage is because it includes a profit share, but I will say it is double what our average wage is. So it's a fantastic jobs. Of the 90 or so estimated jobs to come out here, probably about 20% of those will not relocate, so those jobs will become available to folks out here. Maybe more, they're not exactly sure. And then they're going to ramp up to 120 jobs total. So this is a great deal for us. They'll probably put in about $25 million probably a little more than that with a 400,000 square foot building, plus their equipment. So this is a great win for Haralson County. We competed with Alabama in order to get to this point. There will be a small tax incentive, but it's not incredibly aggressive, and we'll deal with that in another meeting. But that's a market rate for the land. So this is a great site. And so you'll see a couple of motions talking about the procedures as we maneuver through that. And then the final motion that you may hear tonight is we'll need to annex that 183 acres into the city of Buchanan so that we can get city services. And so that will be to authorize that process. So any questions?
So I need a motion from our board to approve the intergovernmental agreement between Haralson County Commission and Authority to fund the purchase of Georgia West Business Park for $3.25 million. Have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the agreement.
And I got a second, all in favor? So that motion has carried. Our next motion is to authorize the chairman to sign a purchase agreement to purchase all remaining acres, 183.62 acres of GWBP for $3,250,000 from WGRIP pending final legal approval and review. So I need a motion to approve that purchase. So I got a motion, I need a second. Got a second. All in favor? The third motion is to approve the purchase to sell one tract, 96.5 acres of the GWBP to Infometals for $2.5 million.
Could you amend your motion to also say pending legal approval and review?
Okay, so the next motion is, this motion is to approve the purchase agreement to sell tract 96.5 acres of GWBP to Infometals for $2.5 million pending final legal approval and review.
Make a motion, we approve the purchase agreement pending.
I need a second. A second, Mr. Hightower. All in favor? Our fourth motion would be to approve the purchase agreement to sell tract 3, 44.78 acres of the GWBP to Haralson County Board of Commissioners. Motion.
Legal review.
Same thing, pending legal approval and review.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? And our final motion is to approve to authorize chairman to sign all documents related to the annexation of all 183.62 acres, including tracts 1, 2, and 3 of GWBP, and to the city of Buchanan, and assign Industrial Drive Park and the associated 4.99 acres to the city of Buchanan.
I make a move, we authorize you as our chairman to sign those documents.
Got a motion? I need a second. And a second? I'll need proof. I need a vote. Motion carried. That concludes our motions.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the intergovernment.
Chairman?
I was just going to say to add to the motions that it's going to the extent any further negotiations are required, to authorize the chairman with review by the county attorney to make any non-substantive changes to the documents before the board.
You want to put that after every motion, or?
We'll just say, add that to both motions that are going to be made.
Okay. Motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement between Haralson County Commission and Authority to fund the purchase of West Georgia Business Park for $3.25 million. And authorize the chairman to sign the negotiations.
And authorize the chairman to make any non-substantive changes to the documents and sign any other documents needed for the closing of the purchase and sale.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, show of right hand.
Who made, did you make
We
the
didn't
motion?
have
I
a
make
first.
the motion.
Okay.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the purchase agreement to sell tract 3, 44.78 acres of GWBP to Haralson County Board of Commissioners.
I I'll make that motion.
And again, subject to the chairman making any modifications that might be required and signing any other documents required to close the purchase and sale.
And I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, show of right hand. Motion carried.
Yes.
Well, I need a motion to allow the chairman to sign, any addendums to these contractors that are non-substantive. I got a motion, second, and a second. All in favor?
You want to adjourn your meeting?
I need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Second. Second. All in favor? So moved, we're adjourned.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, show of right hand. We adjourn.